Okay, so we are now in part 4 of our video discussion regarding about the evolution of Philippine politics and governance. So after the Commonwealth government, so we are now in the period of the Philippine history uh, during the Japanese occupation in the Philippines. So in the year 1942, the Commonwealth government was interrupted because of the event World War II, no? So, napilitan na lisanin ni Pangulong Quezon at ilipat ang Commonwealth government sa US sa nagbabadiyang pagsalakay ng mga Hapones dito sa ating bansa. Dahil dyan, naiwan ang ating bansa na leaderless na walang leader na tumayo dito sa ating bansa. But to give you the background regarding about the Japanese occupation in the Philippines, the Japanese occupation began in 1942 during the eruption or as the start of World War II in Pacific after Japan defeated the American and Filipino forces. And we know for a fact that World War II ended in 1945 with the return of Allied forces led by General Douglas MacArthur. So this period in the Philippine history was marked by military control, propaganda, hardship, and efforts to win the Filipino loyalty. So when they started their occupation in the Philippines, in January 3, 1942, the Japan established in the Philippines the Philippine Executive Commission or PSC. No, it was headed by George B. Vargas. So this Philippine Executive Commission will serve as temporary government under Japanese supervision. The main goal of PSC was to administer the local affairs and promotes Japanese interests in the Philippines during that period. So, ang PSC ay may executive, legislative, and judiciary powers. But they should ask for the convention of the Japanese Commander-in-Chief of the Philippines during that time in every decisions na kanilang gagawin. The Philippine Executive Commission ay isang pansamantalang pamahalaan na itinatag habang inaayos pa ng mga Filipino representatives at ng mga Hapones ang pagtatag ng panibagong konstitusyon na magiging struktura or it will become the structure of the Second Republic of the Philippines or Second Philippine Republic government or so-called the puppet government or Japanese sponsored government. So, sa ikalawang Republika ng Pilipinas, itinatag ang Preparatory Commission for Philippine Independence upang bumuo ng panibagong saligang batas. Sa bisa nito, nagkaroon tayo ng panibagong pamahalaan at ito ay tinawag na ikalawang Republika ng Pilipinas or Second Philippine Republic Government at ang naging pangulo noong mga panahong iyon ay si Pangulong Jose P. Laurel, no? Na ayon sa ibang mga aklat o mga ibang mga libro, siya ay kinikilala bilang the puppet president dahil siya ay sunod-sunuran lamang sa utos ng mga Hapones. So, the puppet government in the Philippines during that time was headed by Jose P. Laurel, pero hindi ito kinikilala ang soberanya sa international community. Ang kumikilala lamang sa soberanya ng panibagong pamahalaan na ito yung mga miyembro ng Axis power na kaalyado ng bansang Hapon katulad ng bansang Germany at Italy. Yung Allied powers ng World War II ay binubuo ng bansang Estados Unidos, France, Great Britain, at Russia. Habang yung Axis power nung mga panahon iyon, nung kasagsagan ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig, ang Germany, Italy at Japan. So yung Germany at Italy lamang ang kumikilala sa Second Philippine Republic government na itinatag dito sa ating bansa ng mga Hapones. So Japan created the Second Philippine Republic with Jose P. Laurel as president. This was meant to show that Japan granted independence to the Philippines, but in reality, it was under Japanese control. With Of course, we cannot create a government without having a constitution. So the 1943 Constitution in the Second Philippine Republic government emphasized cooperation with Japan and the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere na bahagi ng mga na propaganda na ipinapakilala ng mga Hapones dito sa ating bansa noong mga panahong iyon. So, characteristics of government under Japanese rule dito sa ating bansa. So, sa kanilang pamumuno ng mga panahong iyon, they are using authoritarian rule or authoritarian power. So, the power was centralized in the hands of the Japanese military and the puppet leaders. And during that time, there is a control media and propaganda. So, Japan used newspapers, radio, and schools to promote Asian solidarity and anti-Western sentiment. So during the time of the Japanese occupation, we experienced limited civil liberties. So freedom of speech, press, and assembly were suppressed. And during the Japanese rule in the Philippines, there is a ongoing coerced collaboration. So some Filipino leaders cooperated with Japan to prevent further suffering, through others saw it as a betrayal. So na makalauna nung bumalik ang mga Amerikano sa to recapture the Philippines against to the Japanese, no, yung mga naging traidor, yung mga collaborator sa Japanese government dito sa panahon ng digmaan, they are considered as mga traidor dahil sa kanilang pagtataksil noong mga panahong iyon. The political ideologies and way of governance that was implemented during the Japanese occupation in the Philippines during World War II, the Japanese promote the idea of Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, na claiming that they said that Asians should be for Asians and they should unite under Japan against Western colonizers. So ito ay isang pamaraan o strategiya o propaganda na sinasabi ng mga Hapones na tayo ay Asyano, and claiming that we should help one another as Asians, as part of one continent, Asia. They try to instill the value of Asia for Asians. However, the Japanese occupation of the Philippines in their way of governance was marked by military abuse, economic hardship, and violence. So marami mga Pilipino ang namatay, yung mga kumontra, kumalaban sa kanilang pamumuno ay ipinapatay, no? At nagkaroon talaga ng karahasan ng mga panahon iyon. Executions, forced labor, at maraming mga Pilipinong sundalo ang namatay nung kasagsagan ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig. So, nagwakas ang Second Philippine Republic government during August 17, 1945, 2 days after the official surrender of the Japanese Allied forces. And we gained our independence. Officially, the Americans granted our Philippine independence on July 4, 1946. So, nung una, yung proclamation, yung pagdiriwang natin ng ating araw ng kalayaan, we celebrate that one every July 4. Bagamat nung panahon ni Pangulong Diosdado Macapagal, no, siya ay nagpalabas ng isang executive order o isang batas na yung pagdiriwang natin ng kalayaan no, pagdiriwang ng Philippine independence, instead of celebrating every July 4, we will go back to the first proclamation of Philippine independence under the first Philippine Republic government headed by President Emilio Aguinaldo during that time. So that is why from July 4, ito ay binalik sa June 12. Na even until now, we always celebrate June 12 as our commemoration of our Philippine Independence Day. So that is why kapag June 12, meron tayo, ito ay official holiday in commemoration of Philippine Independence Day. So supposed to be, yung July 4 na celebration ay ginawa na lang siyang Philippine-American Friendship Day, no, bilang historical moment for our country, no? Because that's the year, the date that we officially gained the independence. The Americans gave our full independence and sovereignty. Okay. So, pagkatapos ng digmaan, isang malaking hamon sa ating bansa ang makabangon muli, no, dahil sa dulot ng digmaan. So, maraming mga ari-arian, mga infrastruktura sa ating bansa nasira dahil sa epekto ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig. No, so ito ay isa sa mga hamon, balakid na hinarap ng mga naging pangulo sa pagsisimula ng Third Philippine Republic Government. At sa Third Philippine Republic Government, syempre ang mga naging pangulo sa mga panahong ito ay sila Manuel A. Rojas, Elpidio Quirino, si Pangulong Ramon Magsaysay, Pangulong Carlos P. Garcia, Pangulong Diosdado Macapagal, and the first term of Ferdinand A. Marcos, yung tatay ng ating Pangulo, yung ama ng ating Pangulo ngayon, na si Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. So yung nabanggit na mga Pangulo, these are all presidents that served during the Third Philippine Republic government. So alam naman natin si Manuel A. Rojas ay makikita po natin po yan sa 100 peso bill na salaping papel na ating ginagamit. Pedro Quirino, Magsaysay. Okay, so these are all presidents under the Third Philippine Republic government. So the structure of the government during the Third Philippine Republic is same during the 1935 Constitution. Ang pagkakaiba, the Americans doesn't have any control in political relations sa ibang bansa at sa military aspect. During the Third Philippine Republic government, there are two major crises. Of course, the reconstruction of the Philippines as an aftermath of World War II and yung problema ng komunista, the communist problems as a result of World War II. So, before we proceed, iba yung kaalaman, dapat nating tandaan na ang panahon ng Third Philippine Republic, ito rin ang tinatawag na panahon ng pamamayagpag ng Cold War sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos o ng Amerika at ng Union of Soviet Socialist Republic o ng Russia. So mga panahong iyon, nagkaroon din ng pandaigdigang panahon na kung saan tinawag itong labanan sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at ng USSR o ng Russia sa siyensya, no, at sa ibang mga pagdiskubre ng may sa ibang alaman o ibang mga kaisipan. So right after the end of Third Republic, ito ang pagtatag ng tinatawag na batas militar nung nagdeklara ng martial law si Pangulong Ferdinand A. Marcos noong September 21, 1972. Noong 1967, nagsimulang humingi ang mga Pilipino, ilan sa mga political parties na palitan daw ang government o magkaroon ng pagbabago sa ating pamahalaan na kung saan kung gusto nating magbago ang ating pamahalaan, kailangan baguhin muna natin yung ating konstitusyon o saligang batas na ating ginagamit. We cannot change our government without changing first our constitution, or if we have made some revisions or amendment in our constitutions. Dahil dyan, humingi sila ng Constitutional Convention noong 1967 na sinuportahan naman ito ni Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos. Yung kagustuhan daw ng mga Pilipino na baguhin ang ating saligang batas o ating konstitusyon. Ang move na ito ni Marcos ay lubos na ikinabahala ng mga Pilipino dahil inisip ng marami sa mga Pilipino baka samantalahin ito ni Pangulong Marcos para mapahaba ang kanyang termino, which is nangyari na. Yung kinakatakutan ng karamihan sa mga Pilipino o yung karamihan sa mga may kontra sa move na ito na ginawa ni Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos. Ang pag-alala ng marami sa mga Pilipino ay nagsilang ng iba't ibang kilusan na naglalayong pigilan ang pagpipintong pagpapahaba ni Marcos sa kanyang termino. So kaya nga, naisilang din yung mga iba't ibang mga insurgency group, mga rebels group, katulad na lamang ng Communist Party of the Philippines or a New People's Army at yung mga ibang mga insurgency group sa Mindanao. No, dahil sa problema ng ating bansa noong mga panahon yun. Noong 1972, nagkaroon ng mga series of event na nag-justify kung bakit idineklara ang martial law. Isa nito ay syempre yung Plaza Miranda bombing kung saan binomba ang meeting di Avance ng Liberal Party. Ikalawa, may nakamkam daw ng mga armas yung Armed Forces of the Philippines na pinaniwalaan na ito ay galing sa China na para sa mga komunista dito sa ating bansa. At ang ikatlong kaganapan o yung pangyayari, ang pinaka-notorious yung Peking pag-ambush kay Juan Ponce Enrile na dating Chief of Staff, no, isa sa mga mahalagang opisyal sa panahon ni Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos. Dahil dyan, binaba ni Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos ang Proclamation 1081 putting or placing the entire Philippines under martial law. Batas militar. In the 1973, a new constitution was implemented and established. So, of course, no, nagkaroon ng we cannot change the government if we will not change or implement a new constitution. So, noong mga panahon ngayon, wala nang mga kontra sa plano ni Marcos. There's no opposition left in the Philippines. Some of them went into hiding, other left the country. Yung ibang mga kalaban ay nakakulong na o intimidated na kay Marcos. In 1973, there is a big changes in our constitution, and that's the creation of the 1973 Constitution that was established, and it also lead to the establishment of parliamentary system of government na hindi na tayo isang presidential government. So, bali, si Ferdinand Marcos ay naging Prime Minister, member siya ng executive branch at ng legislative branch ng government because of the parliamentary system of government. In November 1965, Ferdinand E. Marcos was elected to the presidency. His administration faced grave economic problems that were exacerbated by corruption, tax evasion, and smuggling. In 1969, Ferdinand E. Marcos became the first elected president of the Philippines who won or to able to win re-election. So karamihan sa kanila ay sa pagkatapos ng kanilang unang termino, if tatakbo sa ikalawang termino, karamihan sa kanila ay nanatalo. But it was only Ferdinand E. Marcos that he was able to win the same position of the president and win his re-election bid for his second term. Dahil nung mga panahon ngayon, yung one term is only equivalent to 3 years, and then may re-election. No, may re-election for I think 2, yes. So dalawang termino. Dalawang termino, then every term is equivalent to 3 years under the 1935 Constitution. So, demands that the government meet the social and economic needs of its citizenry continued. He pressed for the adoption of parliamentary style of government which would allow him to remain in power. His reforms reflected a change in the self-concept of the country during the 1960s. He desired to develop an Asian cultural identity, trend towards seeking cultural identity through the national language. Filipino English, however, remained the language. However, English should remain the language of business. So, magiging national language daw noong mga panahon ni Pangulong Marcos Ferdinand yung Filipino. At yung language of business, yung English. In September 1972, yun na po, nag-declare si martial law, si Ferdinand E. Marcos ng martial law. No? Under the martial law, the regime was able to reduce violent urban crime, collect unregistered firearms, and suppress communist insurgency in some areas. In January 1973, Ferdinand E. Marcos proclaimed the ratification of a new constitution based on the parliamentary system of government with himself as both president and prime minister. Political and economic control by the Marcoses and close associates. The Marcos regime started borrowing money because of our economic woes during that time. And elections for an interim National Assembly were finally held in 1978. Benigno S. Aquino, or Ninoy, and the opposition believed that the election had been illegally altered. And the assassination of Benigno S. Aquino inside and outside, the assassination of Benigno Aquino led to the outside pressure of the Ferdinand E. Marcos government. And it resulted to the snap election in which Marcos wanted to prove that he has still the mandate of the Filipino people, no? And that is why he called for a snap election. And during that snap election, he was against with the wife of Senator Ninoy Aquino, and that is Cory C. Aquino. So during the snap election, it was said that uh, the Marcos side claimed that they are the one who are the winners of that election, but the Aquino side claimed that they are the winners of that election. And as a result of that, we know what happens. So, uh, EDSA People Power 2, EDSA People Power 1 brought out, no? So, nagkaroon ng malawakang pagkilos protesta ng mga panahong iyon. At dahil sa pagkikilos, mapayapang kilos na protesta na yon, ay pinakita ng mga Pilipino ang kagustuhan na pababain sa pwesto ang isang leader na sa kanilang palagay ay hindi na nakabuti para sa ating bansa noong mga panahong iyon. The Filipinos are wanted to have change in the government. No, they call the president Ferdinand E. Marcos to step down in his position as president together with his family. And that is why they are forced to leave the Malacanang Palace and they fled into Hawaii. At dahil doon, umalili sa pamumuno ni Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos and the first woman president in our country, President Corazon C. Aquino. And during her time, also changed the constitution. No? Nagkaroon ng pagbabago ng konstitusyon, at ito ay even until now we are still using this constitution, the current constitution that we are using, the 1987 Philippine Constitution, at ito ang naging hudyat ng pagsisimula ng Fifth Philippine Republic Government with the creation of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So it started with President Corazon C. Aquino, followed by President Fidel V. Ramos, President Joseph Ercito Estrada, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Benigno Simeon, Juanco Aquino III, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, and the current president of our country, which is still under with the Philippine Republic government, Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. So these are all presidents under the Philippine Republic government. Okay. So okay. So I think if you have any questions pertaining to lesson 5, so of course take so during the martial law period, so it was said that the Marcos regime used authoritarian rule, so censorship and media control. It was said that there's also a series of human rights violation, arrest, torture, disappearance of activists, journalists, and opposition leaders were widespread. There is also cronyism and corruption that happens during that time, in which economic resources were concentrated among Marcos allies, Marcos cronies. Infrastructure and development, despite repression, uh, Marcos initiated several infrastructure projects and promoted as part of the new society vision. So the end of martial law, it's because of the assassination of Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino in 1983 that intensified public outrage that resulted to the People Power EDSA Revolution in February 1896 that led to the ouster of Marcos and the restoration of democracy. Okay, so the key features of the 1987 Constitution, so it reinstated the Bill of Rights protecting civil liberties, bicameral Congress. When we talk about bicameral, the legislative branch of government is composed with the Senate and House of Representatives. Senate is the upper house and House of Representative is the lower house. So there is a term limit under the 1987 Philippine Constitutions for elected officials to prevent prolonged rule that happens during the past. Part of the key features of the 1987 Constitution, independent judiciary and constitutional commissions such as COMELEC, COA, and Civil Service Commission, and local autonomy and recognitions of people's participation in governance. So take note the Philippine presidents that serve or part of the Philippine Republic government. So it started with Corazon C. Aquino, Fidel B. Ramos, Joseph Ercito Estrada, Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Benigno Noynoy, Benigno Simeon, Noynoy C. Aquino III, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Ferdinand Bongbong R. Marcos Jr. in present. Okay. So, the Fifth Philippine Republic government represents the return of democracy and the rule of law after years of authoritarianism that we experienced for over 20 years during the Marcos regime. It highlights people's power as a key force in political change. However, the persistence of political dynasties, corruption, and weak party system remain a challenge even in today's present time. So that would be all, and thank you for your listening.